Hey, Jules Plus Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So I wanted to give a quote by Sitting Bull. Do you know who Sitting Bull is? I'm going to give you a little bit of his background. So Sitting Bull, whose name was Lakota Tantaka Iataki, which I'm probably saying wrong, was born around 1831 near Grand River, Dakota Territory, which is now South Dakota. And he died December 15th, 1890 on the same Grand River in South Dakota. He became known as Teton Dakota, who was an Indian chief, under whom the Sioux people united in their struggle for survival on the North American Great Plains. And much like Martin Luther King, who's being acknowledged today, though his birthday was January 15th, I'm so sorry for that struggle. People aren't comfortable with, I don't know, people are very interesting. I think we're a blessing because we are technically second to God. We're made in his image. But what we do with that can become very ugly, which is why I want to share this thing on Sitting Bull. But what I was thinking was, people are very competitive. They're not comfortable with change. They are bitter when somebody else is succeeding instead of rejoicing for them. And, if all was justice, we would be guests in this country to the native, indigenous people, the American Indians who already lived here. But instead, of course, we immediately tried to conquer them. We lovingly placed them on reservations, which were, a chiclet-sized piece of land to what they actually owned. And I'm so sorry for all of that. And so I understand why Sitting Bull, is helping those American Indians. And again, that's politically incorrect because they've changed the title so many times, but for their struggle on the Great Plains, Anyway, it's too big right now, but I continue to pray and do my part. We need to do our part, and whatever that looks like. My husband actually is descended from the Blackfoot Indians. His grandmother was 100% Blackfoot Indian. Which is super interesting. Okay, so I wanted to share this one by Sitting Bull, and I'll put it in the description of the video because I couldn't actually find like an icon for the cover. For this video. So it says, "Inside of me there are two dogs. One is mean and evil, and the other is good, and they fight each other all the time. When asked which one wins, I answer, the one I feed the most." Sitting Bull. So I so can relate to this because, oh my gosh, I prefer to be the gentle, loving, happy, panting, carefree dog who loves unconditionally and only wants to serve his master. Like, that is the dog I prefer to be. But I am always, I'll say often because it's not always anymore. It was for years, but it's calming down. But I'm often struggling with the darker dog in me who is angry and vicious and wants to bite and attack. That was certainly the case earlier this weekend. I got into the food, ugly, disgusting, toxic waste, which brought up every cell in my body that is angry and ravenous. I try not to feed that dog, and I accidentally fed that dog and it reared its ugly head, like very vicious, and I got ugly so fast. My husband was just like, whatever, I don't even know you, and if I do, I don't want to. Like, how angry can you be? What changed? What is your deal? And I was just like, whatever, man, just leave me alone, and I don't even care, and just give me some space. And that was all the disease. The I want to isolate, the stay away from me, the I can do whatever I want, and don't tell me what to do in my life, and just like the most ugliest self, the ugliest self that I possess. And I've been keeping it at bay, for some time. Excuse me. Anyway, it was terrible, and I'm sorry for those slips because when they're that ugly and that dark and bring up so much for me, it is very hard to get over. It's not a single episode, it's not a single meal, because it haunts me and takes time to get out of my body. And it was terrible. It was so terrible. I'm so sorry. But I was really sorry for how ugly I got. I never live in that darkness for long, but I am acutely aware of it being present. So let's go back again. Inside of me, there are two dogs. One is mean and evil, and the other is good, and they fight each other all the time. When asked which one wins, I answer, the one I feed the most. Luckily, the kindest one is winning right now because I'm feeding myself living foods, but it's terrible. So then what this goes on to say is, this quote is similar to a Cherokee legend in which an old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. Well, I wouldn't be surprised that if among the plains, these were nighttime stories that were shared tribe to tribe. So here's the Cherokee grandfather. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It is a terrible fight, and it's between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. Are you kidding me on those descriptive adjectives? Like, where do I begin to pick? Anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. And I think it's interesting that inferiority and superiority are both on that list, because that is the yin and yang of me. I'm feast or famine. Okay, he continued. The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. Those are all fantastic, aren't they? That's where I prefer to live. Joy, peace, and love, hope, serenity, and humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. That is exactly what I strive for every single day, and have the grace to live there mostly. The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too. The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? The old Cherokee simply replied, the one you feed. So obviously this was a story told from tribe to tribe, I would say. But it's such a powerful one, isn't it? My gosh, it's so powerful. I just have to keep thinking about that. I know the better way to live. I know how it gives me light in my heart and in my life. I'm sorry when I fall prey to old behaviors, and I do want to be light. I do want to live in a higher vibration. And I want to show other people the gift of that by modeling it first. All right, my friends, like if you like, join us if you haven't. I would love to hear your feedback on that. It's powerful, right? And of course, as I suggested, I'll attach it to the description of this video. I went to Mass today. I prayed for you guys. People with specific intentions I put in the prayer book. And I would love to share and pray for any of you. I know the gift of it. And until we talk again, best of all, know that you're blessed.